Hi, welcome back. This is Suzanne Wachtel, and welcome back everyone to the podcast. Today's topic is going to be pulling the trigger. How many of us have been in situations when we need to make a decision and we just stay stuck because we just can't make the commitment to make a decision either way? We spend our time weighing out the odds, weighing out the good, the bad, the possibilities, and then we do nothing. And in life, that's how you get stuck. Sometimes doing nothing is the decision, and that's fine, and that's perfectly fine. But when you're in a situation that could even be self-harming, making a decision, pulling that trigger, closing your eyes, jumping in, and just taking the consequences after you've thought it out is just part of life. And sometimes you have to take a risk, you have to take a chance, you have to pull that damn trigger to move forward in life. I had a patient yesterday who came in to see me. She's been doing hair for well over 40, 45 years, maybe more. And she's been trying to quit for the past 10 years, and she cannot pull the trigger. She thinks about it. She wants to. She's standing at the edge of that pool. She's roasting, sweating, hot as could be, dying to jump in and cool herself off and be relieved. And yet she stands at that side of the pool looking at the beautiful cool water. This is just an etiology of her decision. And yet she won't jump in. And as a result, standing on her feet, cutting people's hair, doing this for so long, her health is being compromised. She's getting clots in her legs. She's becoming ill. She goes back and forth to New York and continues seeing clients there from Florida. And every time she goes, she comes back sick as a dog. And the decision really is to retire, go to New York and visit friends, but to stop standing on her feet, to stop really pushing herself past a limit that she can tolerate health-wise, mentally and physically. It is now burning her out. So how do you help somebody like her pull the trigger, make a decision, decide to stop, decide to quit, decide to retire, decide to choose herself over pleasing other people? Will they be disappointed? Perhaps. But life goes on. Life goes on. If you're not here, life goes on. If you change a direction, people find other ways to meet their needs, and nobody is not replaceable. So in helping her to pull the trigger and make this decision, I will sit down with her and weigh out the pluses and weigh out the minuses. And then at the end of the day, it's her choice to choose to remain in the rut, to choose to retire and enjoy her life and really choose herself and improve her health, or to choose continuing to feel badly and guilty and self-incriminating to continue doing what she knows intelligently needs to stop. So this is why I thought today's podcast would be so important, because like her, so many of us get stuck in the wrong relationship or with friends even that are toxic, that we know are not good for us, that we know when we leave their company we feel deflated, and yet we continue to see them. Often there's decisions to retire, change directions. Many times there's choices we need to make that really help us. And we're so worried about the other people that we sacrifice our own needs, right? So that we don't feel guilty, right? Like we're doing something wrong, we're hurting people on purpose. We choose to do for others in spite of it not being healthy for ourselves. So when you're making a decision, I think it's really important to intellectualize it. Sometimes, you could just say, that's it. That's the decision. And you jump in, and no matter what the consequences are, you made the decision, and that could feel wonderful. But I would write down the pros, I would write down the cons, and then I would look at it as if it wasn't even about you. And what would you tell a friend to do? What would you tell a coworker to do? What would you tell someone you care about to do? What would be in their best interest, this choice? At the end of the day, our life is really all about the choices that we make, the choices that we choose, the crossroads, which direction we take. And sometimes we make fantastic choices and the direction ends up in a terrific result. And other times we make decisions that perhaps are not so terrific and we end up having consequences. But even if you make a mistake, as I've said in other podcasts, there are no mistakes if you're learning. If you learn, you can always use that knowledge and wisdom to make better choices going forward. But when you're choosing, and choosing is the important word here, pulling the trigger, making a choice, making a decision, it's all the same, just different words to describe it. And making a choice, making a decision, pulling that trigger, and finally just saying, I'm doing it, can be one of the most empowering things you do in your life. And once you get accustomed to making choices and pulling the trigger for things that are in your best interest, you will feel empowered, you will feel proud, you will feel good about yourself. And as I mentioned before, even if, let's say my patient pulls the trigger and she chooses to retire and she chooses to take care of herself and really stop pushing herself to a limit that is really not working out for her. And let's say she becomes bored. Let's say she becomes, needs the financial support. Well, you know what? She can always take a different direction. Life, we can't box ourselves in like that. Paint ourselves into a corner, because when there's a lemon, you can always add sugar, water, and make lemonade. There's always other choices, other options. Nothing is really permanent. Everything is temporary. So my advice today would be, when you're going to make a decision that's important and a choice, sit down and really take a little time, meditate on it, think of the various outcomes, and choose one. It's like that old TV show where you had to pick a door and take your chances what's behind the door. But an educated choice, a choice that comes from the heart, even an impulsive choice, it's a choice. And that's very empowering in our lives. So pull the damn trigger, make good choices, and don't be afraid to make a mistake, because as I've said before, a mistake could be a fantastic life lesson that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So have a beautiful day, guys, and really think about the choices you need to make in your lives, and sit down with each one as if it's a task and wisely choose. And if not, choose anyway. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.